Hello, everyone, and welcome to another NFL Korner. I'm your host, Nick Stano, and like always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Anthony Bonelli and Stephen Peltier. We have a lot to talk about, and with free agency in the offseason continuing this week, is no different than last week. We're still just going all over the place. We won't be able to put last week's episode on YouTube because of some technical difficulties, and we're sorry about that. But let's just get into some NFL news stories real quick before we start off the show. Starting off, we have the Raiders who cut quarterback Matt Schaub after just one horrible season. However, they did sign Christian Ponder, so there's zero upgrade for there. They just traded one guy that was useless to another.
Cap space.
Yeah, and speaking of former Vikings players, the Vikings released Greg Jennings after trading for Mike Wallace earlier in the week. The Eagles worked out Tim Tebow, and the Jets worked out Josh Freeman, and neither of these guys is even remotely good, so this move makes zero sense for both teams. However, both teams just worked out these players, and neither team was planning on signing them. The Raiders won't be looking to sign former Panthers defensive end Greg Hardy, and he was looking to be signed by the Cowboys now, and he's visiting with the Seahawks, tomorrow.
Someone else, too. I think it was the Redskins.
There's
Maybe. 3 teams.
Yeah. But the Raiders won't be looking to sign him, even though they've said that they're in a market for an elite pass rusher at defensive end. 49ers 24-year-old linebacker Chris Borland told ESPN's Outside the Lines that he's retiring due to concerns about head trauma. This comes after Patrick Willis retired. And, this is just ridiculous. This kind of came out of nowhere last night. I was just typing up the show notes when this came out. So that was crazy. And then finally we have new Dolphins tight end, their defensive tackle, Ndamukong Suh, said in an interview with the Detroit Free Press, quote, "I was never looking to want to leave and figure out a different situation," meaning that he did not want to leave Detroit. Despite the perception that Suh couldn't wait to leave Detroit, personally, I don't think that Suh really meant that. He went to the highest bidder. He wanted to go where the money was. Suh was contacted by the Dolphins front office and team owner after the Lions decided not to use the franchise tag on him, which would have been worth $25 million. And I said this last week, and I'll say it again. No player is worth $25 million. I don't care who you are. But what do you guys think of any of these news stories this week? Or have any of your own?
I actually believe that Suh didn't want to leave Detroit in terms of he liked playing there. He liked everything that went into that defense. Obviously, that was more of a hard-nosed defense than what he's going into.
Right.
But I do agree that he went where the money was. I mean, he wasn't going to stay there. Granted,
Right.
He obviously would have loved to play in Detroit for that kind of money.
Yeah.
But money talks, and that's the way, that goes for everything. And obviously he was going to go there. They were, as you said, the highest bidder. So, it's going to be an interesting line with Cameron Wake and him. And, they still have that solid linebacking core. But
we'll get to that in a second, too. They made some changes up there, too.
Yeah, they need to work on that secondary. But, that defense is definitely, moving up in the rankings, adding him. That's huge to add.
Tierman, any thoughts?
I don't understand why teams are working out Tim Tebow. He is a bum. He'll always be a bum, and he will be nothing known more as a bum. He's terrible. I don't understand his position. I don't understand why Chip Kelly is wasting his time on him.
They weren't looking to sign him. It was just that they worked him out, and I think that got everyone in a little bit of a frenzy.
But still, it's a Johnny.
I actually, did you know he makes money going just for a workout?
Correct.
So,
yes.
Obviously the NFL has money, and Philadelphia, and every NFL team has money to just throw around, but do you honestly believe that they did not bring him in with any intention to sign him? They obviously brought him in for something. They didn't bring him in just because they enjoy watching the guy work out.
Right. There's definitely a thing of, they could potentially sign him. Their quarterback situation is that they can try and sign a guy like that. Or
sign him and put him at the position he belongs at, fullback or tight end.
Right. There's always room for that at some point, but I do think that it's going to be interesting with seeing what they do because you do pay guys to come in and work out.
So
like
I mean, obviously
there's
something
there. So like
yeah.
maybe if like there's an injury in the middle of the season, they bring Tebow in as backup instead of someone else maybe because he's worked out with their system. I don't know. There's something there.
But I don't understand why he hasn't played in a game. He hasn't played in a game for what? 4 years?
2012.
Well, he's not going to start. I mean,
well, he last played with the Patriots in 2013.
So they have Bradford and Sanchez.
The last official game. When's
2012. Okay.
Was the last official
with the
game
Jets?
that he
Yes.
played? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't get why people still.
He'd be the third string quarterback behind. I mean, Bradford, Sanchez, then him. You would assume.
Right. Anyway. So now we move on to free agency. So we have more free agency news this week. It's taking up a lot of room, so we're just going to start talking about all these offseason moves and give our quick thoughts on almost every one of them, or as many of them as we can. First off, we have former Patriots defensive tackle Vince Wilfork, who signs a 2-year, $9 million deal with the Houston Texans. The Texans also signed former Jaguars receiver Cecil Shorts to a 2-year deal as well. Thoughts?
The Wilfork signing is huge. I mean,
that makes that defensive line big in the middle,
and
too.
As I said last week, honestly, I mean, yeah, the guy's getting older. His production's been down. But again, he takes on a double team. So now what are you going to do? Are you going to double team him and you're going to double team Watt?
So that's Watt 4 guys on 2 players?
We were talking at lunch. I mean, you throw Clowney up there. I mean, they like him at outside linebacker. But if you can get him out on the line on the outside, if he can stay healthy, I mean, Jesus.
Yeah,
that team is going to be dangerous in the backfield.
Yeah, I think that would be the best 3-man rush you could think of in this league right now. For what a team has to work with.
That's true.
Wilfork commands a double team. J.J. Watt commands a double team. Then you have Clowney on the outside. I mean, even if you put a tight end on that line, you still have what? 3 free offensive linemen.
I'm not tooting my own horn, but Michael Johnson coming back
to the Bengals. That's a big move
with Geno Atkins, Robert Geathers, and Demata Pecco. That's a pretty good. It's
a good line. But like,
if you got 2 guys taking a double team on one line,
you have 2 guys taking up essentially in theory 4 offensive linemen by themselves.
Yeah, that's just. And that's going to limit teams to have the tight end. That's going to limit teams' tight end production when they play that team because that tight end's going to have to stay in.
Right.
Obviously,
it doesn't matter what team you are. Like even a team like the Patriots have to put Gronk and probably Chandler on that line as well. Yep. All right, so now we move to the Cleveland Browns. They signed former Dolphins defensive tackle Randy Starks to a 2-year deal worth $8 million. Oh, okay, that's pictures. Never mind. And they also bolstered their secondary by signing former Packers cornerback Tremont Williams to a 3-year deal. Also, they were bringing in free agent wide receiver Dwayne Bowe to visit them on Monday as well. So we'll see if a deal gets worked out with them. Any thoughts on Cleveland? I mean, they did improve somewhat the secondary because you bring in a leader like Tremont Williams, who's been in the league for quite a few years to help that young secondary. But
for the Browns, I don't think the problem's their defense.
It's not, and I think
because
that was their problem.
They're young and they're going to be good.
Right, like their oldest player is probably like Paul Kruger.
But is Hartline the answer when you bring him in?
I think
they brought in.
The problem,
not
I think the problem with Cleveland is the biggest one still is the quarterback situation. They need to find someone. We're all in agreement that we don't think Johnny Manziel's the answer.
No, he's never been the answer for them.
So, when they lost Hoyer, who won them, I forget how many games, 8?
Something like that last year.
And
even though he had a pretty bad year, it was just...
Right. So the problem wasn't the defense. They need help offense.
Yeah.
So
there's nothing on that offense besides Crowell and now Hartline.
Right.
Like you don't have anyone to there's no weapons. That
exactly.
offense is just skin and bones.
I think Terrence West is better than Isaiah Crowell.
Right, but even then, he didn't. He was kind of like their Stephen Ridley, whereas he could not hold on to the ball for them last year.
Their whole offense is awful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
you have no Gordon for a whole year.
Right. And the whole thing is that they were relying on Gordon to be their entire offense essentially. They had no one else around him. Like,
You
Jordan
can't-
Cameron was their
Surprisingly,
other
though,
option.
I'm going to tell you that they're probably going to win games. And the only reason why is because of how
They're-
good their defense is
Right.
going to
Exactly.
Right.
be.
Yeah.
So they're going to, at least, maybe I won't use the word win games, but they're going to contend in games.
they'll
and
be
they're going to
in
be in
game,
games.
yeah.
But if it comes down to trying to, put together a winning drive to end the game, that's probably not going to happen with that
Right.
offense.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so now we have the Ravens, who signed former Texans safety Kendrick Lewis to a 3-year deal, and also re-signed running back Justin Forsett to a 3-year deal as well, even though Forsett was being pursued by the Falcons and a couple other teams. So, I mean, I think that the biggest move for them is re-signing Forsett, especially after they lost Torrey Smith. But I also think a big steal for them was picking up Kendrick Lewis, because the Texans secondary was pretty bad before. Now it's just a little bit worse.
Yeah, I mean, Kendrick Lewis is obviously really good. He's more of a hitter than anything else, but that's what you always look for.
You want a big hitting
Safety,
safety,
that's what you look for. But the Forsett is big because, a lot of... I thought he was going to leave. I really did. I thought
Same
he was
here.
going to go somewhere else.
It didn't seem like they were making any push to get him. And,
Right.
But the only thing is he's only had one really breakout year, and he's like, what, 28,
But
29?
but I think that... Well, hey, better late than never, but you have to give
it's
him
true.
credit because he really never had a shot anywhere he was. He was
Right,
always
he
the
was in
backup to
Houston
someone.
before that. And
Well, he was in Seattle, too. He was always a backup to someone. So, what's interesting is I feel like the Ravens kind of felt like they needed to do this because if they didn't,
They would have a much
Lorenzo
weaker offense.
Talaferro would have been there.
Yeah.
I mean, with the way Flacco plays
Pierce.
so inconsistently,
Yeah.
who's a fullback playing running back,
Exactly.
they would have been forced to, throw the ball a lot, and that's really... Joe Flacco can't do that.
He
can't throw 50. I mean, he does, but it's
Not
not
often.
Not
It's
his
Right.
strong suit.
So,
Yeah.
big signing there.
And now we'll get to your boy, their defensive end, Michael Johnson, signed with the Bengals on a 4-year, $20 million deal. He's going to be making $6 million this season and $7 million from the Bucs.
I think
For 2015
Right.
alone, he made $16 million off of the Bucs last season,
which
and
he was
then came
overpaid
back
there.
to the Bengals. Yeah, that was ridiculous.
good.
He's good.
He's
He's not.
good. He's not that good.
16 million good.
No, the thing is though, where are the Bengals coming up with all this money?
Zero idea.
Because you have to remember,
And their biggest problem really isn't their defense.
no, it's
too.
not. But the thing is, their biggest problem isn't anything except for their quarterback. I am confident at every position except for the quarterback. But here's the thing: when you sign Dalton,
I think we can count like how many weeks in a row you've mentioned Andy Dalton being the worst thing about the Bengals team in a row.
okay, but you gave him that $60 million
I thought
contract.
it was 100.
It's upwards of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gave him that contract, and before the season even started. So you're already starting off in the hole. And now, obviously we were going after some guys, but I actually just read an article 10 minutes ago that we were in the running for Greg Hardy, and now we're not because we can't even provide him with the money that he wants, and he's probably going to end up in Dallas. So,
Yeah.
I mean, great move, I think, with Michael Johnson. That helps a lot, but why did we sign Andy Dalton at that much money, which is going to kill us now when we're trying to pursue other guys?
And this is the thing where you have teams that have either above average or good quarterbacks that are struggling, and you're signing their quarterbacks to like these tremendous deals that leave you very little room to add depth to a team that might be able to grab a couple star players in free agency.
I agree 100%. Absolutely 100%. But can you win?
It's a big problem.
Can
with the
you
league.
win? Can you have a winning season with a below average quarterback?
Depends on what your division is, because as we saw last year,
Well, we've
anyone
made the
could
playoffs
win
4
the
years.
NFC South.
My team has made the playoffs 4 years
You personally have not.
since he has been here.
Yes.
But I don't think he's even an average quarterback. So what that tells
Well,
tells me
he
is
does
that
have good-
everything around him is good
Yeah.
except for him.
Yep.
We make the playoffs every year and we struggle because of him.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a breakdown somewhere, and if it's not in your coaching staff, if it's not in the front office, if it's not in your supporting cast around the team, if it's not a depth issue, then you have to look at the quarterback.
It has
But
to
I don't
be.
even want to just talk about Dalton. I'm just saying, like, there
Right,
are teams that
Yeah.
can make the playoffs with a below average quarterback.
Correct.
And then this ties
But
into
but I
free
don't
agency.
I don't think you get that far though. I mean, as we've seen with
Well,
the
that's why you
Bengals,
lose in the first round.
you lose in the first round. You have like a wild card exit, like one of those things. But I still think
That's what Arizona did
you-
this year. You don't have a quarterback, but everything around you is good. I mean, you can still make the playoffs, but then you can't get out of the playoffs.
correct. Well, you can't get out of the playoffs fast enough, rather.
Right.
What do you think, Tier?
On the Bengals, I think they make the playoffs. Is won the division.
Mhm.
It's usually essentially a two-way race. Sometimes
This year, all three got in.
Yeah.
The only one that didn't get in was the Browns.
Browns.
It was a very competitive
Right.
division because the
Yeah.
Browns.
Right.
It was
right
the
there,
closest.
too.
I think it was the
Right.
closest
It's the
division in
best, yeah.
football.
Usually,
It was crazy.
Sometimes it's usually a two-team race. And the problem, I think, is it's definitely the quarterback situation because the defense is good. I'm not going to say they're elite. They're good.
You have two solid running backs, and you have
Yep.
two
Yep.
very
Right.
one amazing receiver, one very good receiver.
Right.
He's
You
talking
have
about
one
AJ
very
Green
good-
and Muhammad Sanu.
Right.
A tight end.
a great tight end.
Is he
Who's-
back with the team?
He's not anywhere
He's
yet.
still
He's
free
in the
agent.
air. He's floating around. Pick him up.
Why didn't they sign him
Pick
this
his
week?
ass up, man.
Come
Get
on.
him. And the defense is good, and they play a style of football when they just hit. You want to run on them? Go to walk.
Yeah.
Go to
Yeah,
walk.
yeah, you keep
Very
throwing that
physical
front
team
They
up
make
front.
you-
Yeah.
especially now with that.
They make you one-dimensional,
Yeah.
and good walk beating them. Well, this past year you saw teams throw all the secondary. But,
Well, the secondary issues, the cancer is all gone.
right.
You know,
So
Newman's gone.
that's the biggest cancer.
Yeah.
Got burned in every game.
that's
Yeah.
your boy though.
So we're going to stick in the same division, and the Steelers and quarterback Ben Roethlisberger have agreed to a 5-year, $99 million extension. This is just what we were talking about. The deal could be worth up to $108 million. This essentially guarantees that Roethlisberger is going to be a Steeler for life, essentially. However, what can they do with all this lost cap, though? Nothing.
But
Nothing.
they weren't even trying before they signed him. They signed him later in the week than when free agency already started, and they
Yeah.
weren't trying to make a push on anybody.
Which is stupid because that team needs help almost everywhere.
Well, wait. There was something that came out that the Steelers were trying to make a push at Vince Wilfork. I don't know if
I didn't see that.
I saw that. I read about that. And they just couldn't even offer him anything because they didn't have the money.
Yeah, I mean that's stupid because you have Antonio Brown, arguably one of the best receivers in football,
Right.
especially last season. You have Le'Veon Bell, one of the best running backs. Ben Roethlisberger,
Martavis
a really good quarterback. You have Martavis Bryant. You have
Heath
Heath Miller at tight end, who's getting old, but he's still
But
productive. Like you have all these guys that are doing
See-
good on offense for them. You just have zero offensive line pretty much, and then you have really no defense. There's no steel curtain.
Right, no.
There's absolutely no one on defense that
Defense
stands
soft,
out.
Really.
That stands out at any position in the league.
The last thing I saw about the Steelers trying to make a push for someone was McCourty to replace Paul Mahler.
Right.
Yeah, I saw that too.
That was the
Yeah.
last thing I've seen from them free agency wise.
And I think part of Roethlisberger's extension would have been McCourty's contract at this point.
Yeah.
So maybe they're just going with, hey, we're good. Maybe they believe they're good enough in every position that they don't really need anywhere else.
They don't believe that, and neither do we.
Yeah.
Oh, I think their offense is good enough that they'll compete.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's kind of like
Their offense will
it's,
put up points.
it's the opposite of the Browns.
Right.
Their offense will do great for them.
Yeah.
Their defense will do nothing for them.
Right.
Very true.
All right, so Kansas City and offensive guard Ben Grubbs agreed to a 4-year, $24 million deal as reported by NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. This came after the Chiefs traded a 5th-round pick to New Orleans for Grubbs. The Saints had struggled with cap issues. They were like $30 million over the cap at one point, so they needed to get rid of Grubbs, who was, I think it was like a $6 million cap hit for them, or $9 million cap hit, one of those. But they traded him to Kansas City for a 5th-round pick, and the Chiefs have also re-signed safety Ron Parker to a 5-year, $30 million deal, which, all right, good for them. They need someone in that secondary since Eric Berry's gone. And then we have Tierman's favorite player, free agent running back Reggie Bush, has signed a deal with the 49ers. No details were released about that I know of, so that's kind of interesting.
For details. He's not good enough.
It's a 1-year deal or 2-year deal probably.
Yeah.
The Titans had a couple moves in the past week. They signed former 49ers cornerback Parrish Cox to a 3-year, $15 million deal. Tennessee also signed former Redskins linebacker Brian Arakpo and linebacker Derek Morgan. Morgan's deal is a 4-year, $30 million deal. I'm not sure what Arakpo's is. Couldn't find it. The Cowboys have signed former Raiders running back Darren McFadden to a 2-year deal worth up to $5.85 million. So if you're a Cowboys fan,
You're confused.
you're just beside yourself. You did not get DeMarco Murray back.
And then
You signed Darren McFadden. You didn't even get like C.J. Spiller, who's I think heads
He's better
and
than
tails above
McFadden.
McFadden.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but I think this will be interesting to see because we could see McFadden have a decent year because that offensive line is ridiculous.
So true.
What do you guys think of any of those stories?
The one thing that's kind of cool to think about is how bad Reggie Bush is. But it's cool. Hold on. It's cool because this. Kaepernick loves... Honestly, Kaepernick would be a good quarterback if he was in Philadelphia. If he had that kind of an offense, like a Chip Kelly, quick pace offense, run and gun, he'd succeed.
He's one of the best arms throwing on the run. That was done by Sports Science.
I think this is going to help him a lot.
Yeah.
Because Carlos Hyde is a power back. Frank Gore is a power back. Now he gets a back that's very, very quick. And the
injury prone but quick.
We're going to see more of a, style offense you see maybe in Seattle or Carolina. A lot of, spread offense, a lot of screen passes. That's what every team does when they have Reggie Bush, and he just doesn't do anything. But, I mean, the mindset's going to be there that, look, we've got someone that's quick. We can try to change the way our offense has been running. And you know what? Hey, maybe it works out for Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, and I know we were texting about this last week, but as much as it would have been, I think, bad if the Patriots had signed Reggie Bush statistically, he played less games, but he was better than Shane Vereen.
That's not hard to do.
I mean, it's not hard to do, but it was just kind of interesting because a lot of people were saying, we would have rather kept Vereen. I was like, but if you look at the stats, I mean, Reggie Bush was better and he played like 4 less games than Vereen, which is crazy. But Vereen got a nice deal from the Giants. So now we have the Patriots. Speaking of that, they've officially signed former Bills tight end Scott Chandler, and yet another interdivisional move. This has been a bit of a trend in the offseason. We'll get to a couple more later, but like we even saw this with Mike Upati. I mean, he went from the Niners to the Cardinals, and then Dockett went from the Cardinals to the Niners. It's just, I mean, everyone's going interdivision. This is just ridiculous. I mean, Revis went from New England to the Jets. I mean,
DeMarco.
Yeah, Cowboys to the Eagles. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't get it. And then Charles Clay could be going to Buffalo. I mean, that's interdivisional as well. But I think Chandler's a good blocking tight end. He's a good number 2 option for New England. But I mean.
So what do you do with Tim Wright then? Just let him go?
You could. You
got rid of Makins for him.
Mm-hmm. But you could also keep Wright and let Human go. Michael Umanawanui. Yeah. But
They're both horrible.
I mean, it's not like an upgrade either way, but Wright is a better receiving tight end than
That's questionable too.
He never played.
Yeah, that's questionable too. I don't even know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree that either of them are worthy. I'd probably rather have Numa because he can at least block. And Timothy Wright's like a receiver. He's not. Yeah. He's so thin. I don't think either of those guys are worthy of a spot, to be honest.
The problem with New England, it's not their offense. Now they need defense, and when you lose Will Fork and Revis, that defense is going to be so bad.
T-Ran, I have a question for you, so you can let everyone know. So this is, on the record and everything.
My
Everyone will
panic
see the
levels,
sun.
it's about
Everyone.
11.
Okay, there we go.
Still 11. Because
Wait, hold on a second. This is after you had texted that it was a 7, then it was
to
a
an 11.
then it was an 8, then it was a 6.
no,
Now it's a 10 or an 11. Is
the
what you
highest
just
I
said.
ever went was a 20.
Yeah, you went at 20. This is during our show last week. He said he went at 20 in
But
Panic.
Now you
Out of
now-
10, everyone.
Now
It's
you
a
need
1 to 10.
I've been saying it. You still need a fat guy to take on double teams. I've said it. There's plenty of fat guys out there.
Not anymore. A lot of them are
BJ
taking.
Raji would fit that role perfectly. I don't care if he gets sacks. I don't care if he gets tackles. As long as he's doing something that takes up 2 people,
Signed him to like a $3 million deal. Or
not
something like that.
even. Give him a 1 year, $2.5 million, and a freaking call it a day because he's coming off an injury. Just get a fat guy in the middle of the line because that defensive line is horrible right now. You can't say.
Oh, I agree. Like their defense
second-
needs a lot of work.
It's terrible, and I don't.
And there's your expert Patriot fan analysis from Stephen Peltier, everyone. All right, moving on. We have the Rams, who signed defensive end Akeem Ayers and defensive tackle Nick Fairley. Fairley's deal, which kind of surprised me, is only a 1-year deal with $4 million on the table. I mean, that was a lot lower than I expected. I expected him to go for at least a 4 or 5 year deal, making at least 6, something like that.
But that defense is elite.
That defense is crazy.
That defense,
Crazy loaded with
They have
talent.
2 amazing corners
Yeah.
that were rookies last year, Tremaine Johnson and E.J. Gaines, that got no love. On top of Janoris Jenkins, who was a second-year guy, who's
Correct.
an amazing corner. Now they add to that defensive line. You have Robert Quinn, who's
Amazing.
very
On the
good,
outside.
and you have Fairley, who's just gonna.
Quinn's like a Pro Bowler every year.
They're just gonna
His
stuff.
stats
They're just
alone.
gonna stuff the line of scrimmage, and I would be
You-
surprised if they win 8 or 9 games this
Yeah,
year solely off of their defense.
Like we were
and they
saying
have a
last
high
week.
draft pick, too.
Yeah,
and they have Foles.
we were saying last week that this team could easily be second overall in the NFC West.
Without a doubt, that defense.
The only team that they would be able to beat them in
that
that division is Seattle.
That's true.
Like I don't see Arizona doing
Even
I'd like to see
anything to
them
that
add
defense.
one more piece to that secondary,
Okay.
but I mean, I think that they're still going to contend in that division.
Where would you want to see it though? Would you want to see it at linebacker?
No, I still want another. I want another corner because if you look at size, I mean, Janoris Jenkins is one of the biggest corners in the NFL. But
Correct.
But then you have 2 really thin, small guys like I said, E.J.
Like
Gaines and
Gaines,
Tremaine.
yeah.
But they're quick. But again, if you could add one more big body, I like interchanging corners.
Yeah.
I like when you can have 4 corners.
Yep.
You know,
Rotate them in and out.
rotate them nonstop
Yeah.
in and out, kind of like what Cincinnati does when Pac-Man, he doesn't start, but he's on the field for at least 40 snaps of the game. I like that.
Right.
Constant changing.
So all these guys are fresh and not worn out throughout the game.
And
That makes sense, yeah.
especially when they're young. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't beat that.
It keeps them going a lot
so
longer.
fresh,
yeah. All right.
you can never have enough corners.
Yes. Then we have the Bills, who made the biggest move in free agency this week, signing Percy Harvin to a 1-year deal. I mean, I
think
don't.
him and Rex liked each other, maybe. Do you think? I was joking.
I mean, I have zero idea why this makes sense. Yet another interdivisional move, and I mean, this just. I'm
There
really
might be a
I'm
chance
really
that-
glad he went to Buffalo instead of New England
I don't think Rex even knew that he coached Percy Harvin.
at any point.
I wouldn't be surprised
Yeah.
if he was like, wait, this guy was on the Jets when I was there? I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
mean, yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, the only thing that Harvin's good for is returning kicks and sitting on your bench. So, I mean, I don't know. The Steelers also signed former Panthers running back D'Angelo Williams to a 2-year deal.
What's up with them signing those random bums? They did with Ben Tate. They signed
Yeah.
Ben Tate for like 2 weeks last year.
Yep,
He did
and
nothing.
then let him go.
Then let him go.
Yeah, because
D'Angelo
Blount got
Williams, terrible.
released as well.
Blount was terrible when they used him though. He wasn't
Right, because they had Bell,
Well, yeah, and they didn't know how to utilize
Blount.
him. So,
and then he comes to New England.
but that was the funniest signing when they signed Ben Tate from Minnesota for like a day.
Yeah, it was
And then he left. He got like 1 carry for like -8 yards.
right. Yeah, cool because that offensive line is garbage. But
D'Angelo
yeah,
Williams has not had a solid career. Him and Jonathan Stewart were in the duo bum backfield until Jonathan Stewart had his first good year this year, really.
Yeah.
Or at least first good year in a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's interesting. The Saints signed former Bills running back C.J. Spiller to a 4-year, $18 million deal, adding to an already crowded backfield with Kyrie Robinson and Mark Ingram.
that's why.
Ingram
And they just
got
gave
signed.
Ingram money. That's
Yeah.
why it's not a good move.
Ingram just got a 4-year, $16 million deal last week. So they've spent, over $30 million
C.J. Spiller
for.
didn't want to stay. I mean, Buffalo kind of gave him the boot, but he also commented that he didn't want to stay if he didn't think he was going to start. Well,
Right.
let's be honest. He's going to have to fight for that starting job.
Oh, yeah, and
So why
take
would-
Kyrie Robinson out of there. He's their third option now.
Right. Well,
but you have Ingram and Spiller. I mean, that's a good duo.
Look at the
to
year that
rotate.
Ingram had on the low that no one talked about. He had a great year.
One of
He
the
was
best
hurt.
years
Yeah.
before he got hurt.
Right, so
He was statistically, at that
Spiller
point,
can't be
second
happy
in
with-
the league, only to DeMarco Murray.
Spiller can't be happy with having to compete for that spot because he doesn't want to. He just wants the job outright. That's number one. And number two,
Which
that's
is stupid
Ingram's
because he
team.
doesn't work. He doesn't work to
Right.
to be a
And
three
that's-
down back.
Ingram thinks that's his team, obviously, because, when he arrived, they didn't have anybody. They had Pierre
Exactly.
Thomas, and they drafted him to be that guy, so they can't give
And he
him
had a
the
few
boot.
bumps along the road, but eventually he came into his own.
But they paid C.J. Spiller like a starting back. They didn't
Yeah.
pay him like, hey, look, you're going to come, run the ball whenever
They gave
we
him
feel
$2
like
million
it.
more than Ingram.
That's what I don't get.
You're
Like,
gonna
is
Is Spiller better than Ingram?
No,
He's not.
he actually.
They're
I-
different.
They're different
Exactly.
styles.
They're both quick, but Ingram
Ingram's
obviously is
a
way more
bigger
power.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the whole thing with Spiller is he cannot stay healthy. For the life of him, he
So
cannot play more
So
than
would you
12
agree
games
with
a
me that
season.
that's a questionable signing? I'm not saying it's a bad signing. It's like puzzling. Like, why would you
I
do that?
probably would have given him half that deal. I would have probably given him,
But
like
it needs to be clear cut in
2-9
the document.
instead
In
of-
the signing, look, it's whoever's team.
right.
Ingram thinks it's his team.
Yeah, and I wouldn't doubt that because of what he did last
In
year.
production, yeah.
Yeah. The Saints also traded wide receiver Kenny Stills to Miami for linebacker Donnell Ellerby
I
and
didn't
a
get
third-round
that
pick.
Ellerby's
This is a
good.
bit of a confusing move for me because they just lost Jimmy Graham, and they re-signed Colston, but you traded one of your best young receivers on that team.
Breeze was pissed
Yeah,
Breeze was
I would be
pissed.
too.
about both of them. About getting rid of Graham
He
and Stills.
said that he was shocked and thought it was a joke when he first heard about Jimmy Graham being traded.
Yeah.
And
I don't care
and
about-
even,
I don't mind
and
that
even
trade
Max
as much.
Unger was like confused and like surprised, and he didn't even want to
Well,
go
like
to
I
New
said,
Orleans.
I was happier with the deal that the Saints got because I think the Saints did better there.
Yeah.
I'm being serious.
I agree with
Just
that, too.
helping out
Yeah.
an old quarterback with protection is key.
Correct. Yeah,
It will keep Drew Brees elite. But
and
I
it
don't
hurt
like
the
I
Seahawks
don't like
big time
Kenny
anyway.
Stills' deal at all. Donnell Ellerby's good, but come on. The defense for the Saints is average at best, but that
They also
offense was
got
really
a
good.
third-round pick, so they can do something with that
Right,
too.
but that offense was really good. And Kenny Stills is young. He's going to continue to be really good.
Like the big thing that you saw out of Kenny Stills
Deep
was,
threat.
oh my god, he
Tiny, but he's a deep threat.
He
He's like
had
Steve Smith.
he would just run on like streaks that would go down the
and
field,
he had a good year.
He would run by everyone. He would,
He had a couple of games with multiple touchdowns. And
yeah. And like,
I'm not saying it's.
but he was either a hit or miss. Like either he'd be on fire for a
Yeah.
game or he'd be quiet for a game. So I can understand
There's
why.
a lot of wealth to be spread around there, though. That's the
Yes.
only reason why. He's never
Yeah.
been on that team. I wonder if they brought him back. You take away Graham. I mean, Graham didn't have that good of a year, but
No, he had a pretty bad year.
right. So I would have liked to have seen what that would have been like if he stayed
Mhm.
without Graham.
Yeah, and sticking with Miami for a bit, we have another trade involving the Dolphins. They traded wide receiver Mike Wallace and a 7th-round pick to the Vikings for a 5th-round pick.
Not comparable.
I mean, it's just.
It was one receiver,
You-
another one.
Totally
But
different,
that's,
though.
yeah, I was gonna say
A
it's a
big
different kind of
possession
receiver.
versus a small speed receiver.
Older versus younger, bigger contract, smaller contract.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
I don't think that's why they.
I
did it.
think it's a
they're
salary
trying to
cap
make
move.
moves. To be
Yeah.
honest,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I think it was a money issue.
Yeah. And then Miami also signed free agent tight end Jordan Cameron to a 2-year deal worth $15 million. Like, they're throwing him
They're
around
throwing
money.
and any move they make is predicated off of the stupid money that they gave to Sue. So
Right. Yeah, I mean, that is just crazy. I would not give Cameron 7.5 a season.
you can give Tannehill all the targets you want. I don't think Tannehill's good at all. And honestly, he's one of the quarterbacks that to me he pumped the brakes. He has the e-brake on. Where he's at in his career,
Yeah.
he's going to stay at. He's not going to get better. He's not going to get worse until he gets older.
Yep.
But he's right there at about an inch above average.
Okay, yeah.
I don't
can see
think
that.
can you see him getting any better than what he is?
No. But I could
mean,
see
you probably think
I could see him flatlining for a couple seasons though.
He's not going to ever get better. He's done getting better.
Improving a little. I mean, not.
I don't.
With the talent he has surrounding him, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't see it.
You don't have a big possession receiver. What the Dolphins did is exactly what the Patriots needed was to they
Now
lost
their
a
biggest receiver
Now they bigger
is
receiver.
Rashard Matthews, who's like 6'1", and Jarvis Landry, who's like 6'2".
Exactly like the Patriots, whose biggest receiver is Brandon LaFell
So
at 6'2".
I don't see him. Why do you think he can get better? Because Dave likes him?
No, it's just because Dave likes him. No, I mean, I think
It's a tough sell.
I think you can. Yeah.
Where'd he go to college? Texas A&M. He had yeah, he did. He went to Texas A&M.
Yeah,
he did. He had it. He was there before Mandel.
Yeah.
He had an average college career, but then he came out in a year with a weak quarterback year.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
it went first round.
I honestly don't even think that he. I don't think that he could start on a lot of NFL teams.
Oh, probably. I'm with you.
It
there.
really depends on what team you're looking at, but yeah.
I mean,
I
I'm not
agree.
trying to just bash the guy, but I
Right.
don't think he's the answer. I don't think he's
No.
this elite quarterback.
Right.
No,
The Dolphins are making a ton of moves because they're comfortable with what they have already.
Correct.
And they think that, look, we have this, we have that. Now the Dolphins think that they're a few steps away from greatness.
That's what I said.
Which
last
I don't
week.
think that they are there.
Nope.
I don't think that they are there.
Not happening.
I don't think they're there.
No,
Well,
they
they won 10 games last year, right?
No.
They won 8
Really?
games.
Yeah, they broke even.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought they were 10-6.
No, they broke even. They lost
Baltimore got into the playoffs at 9-7. They were not
Okay.
10-6.
The Dolphins were in the hunt for a wild card spot for like 3 weeks, and then they lost 2 of the last
Right.
3 games or
Okay.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Do you
8-8.
think maybe these moves propel? I think the Sue deal makes them at least a two more win team.
You can't say one guy's going to make them win
Yeah.
2 more
Two-
games.
However,
You're saying that one guy on the defensive line is going to be the actual reason that they win 2
I think
games?
I think they
No.
can propel.
I think their defense is a
I
little
think
bit
this- I think-
formidable.
No, there's
now.
absolutely no
I
way
think
that
these moves are, like I said last week, are hoping to put them at the next level.
But it's not. Like their secondary is still the weakest part of that defense, and
Yeah.
offensively they didn't improve at any position.
So like
Cameron is not better than Charles Clay because Cameron can't stay healthy,
So like I said,
and
maybe
Charles
they're
Clay was
building-
underutilized.
They were 8-8.
Yeah, I was right. Daddy's
We were
always
correct.
right.
But-
Daddy's always right. But anyways, dude, you were telling me that you added Damakong Suh to that defensive line, and now they're going to win 2 more games.
Maybe because
So you think they're going to go 10-6 next year because they added in Damakong Suh?
potentially yes.
How did Detroit do with Nick Fairley and Sue?
How does one guy at any position give you 2 more wins?
Besides
So
the
the
quarterback.
Eagles are going to get 2 more wins just because of DeMarco Murray? I don't see that happening. I do
Well,
not
a quarterback
see that
can be
happening.
that difference maker.
The
though.
only reason why they're going to win 2 more games if they do is because that division is starting to just totally
Yeah,
landslide change. The Patriots are not making the moves. They're getting older. Buffalo's getting younger, changing personnel, bringing in people.
They lost a couple guys though,
Miami's doing the same thing. Yeah, but the guys that they lost,
like Cersei.
Denoris Searcy is probably the biggest guy that they lost, which
Yeah.
they can figure
But
that out.
maybe
But
what I'm trying to say is maybe they're trying to get kind of like the Texans way, have a good offensive line, great offensive line, and get away.
so your recommendation for them
You mean
is
the Cowboys?
No,
Because
no, no.
Texans
I mean
don't have
the
a good
defense-
offensive
I meant
line.
the defensive
Oh,
line.
okay.
Defensive
Okay,
line,
yeah.
my bad.
Yep.
And try and get away with it
10-6
next year.
You're saying
Official.
Miami 10-6.
Official. This is going
Official? No, not official.
to be okay.
10-6. You would say right now off the record.
Off record, potentially yes, but I'm more leaning back towards 9-7.
Okay, I could see 9-7,
When you say you're worried,
but only
about
because
the
9-7,
Patriots-
because only 9-7 is not too much
What
different
I'm
from
worried-
8
when
and
you
8.
say you're worried about the Patriots, I understand and I agree. I'm not a Patriots fan, but I agree because what I'm going to say is they're the only team in that division that's not making moves.
Right.
Correct.
But for you to say that you think that the moves that Miami has made is going to set them apart and make them win 2 more games, for them to go 10-6 with that roster, from what they brought in and what they lost, I honestly feel that, and I disagree with me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
You go from Clay to Cameron, which I think Clay's better.
Yeah.
Okay. You lose Wallace and you bring in Stills, sorry.
Yeah.
So they're completely different.
Yeah. That's
even
hard to compare them.
Right.
Yeah.
But you don't have a big possession receiver.
Correct.
You don't really know about Lamar Miller. He had one good year. You don't really, not even good. He had an above average year, so you don't really know what he's going to bring to the table, because it's tough to say in the NFL, especially at running back, that each year that guy's going to be able to produce. So you're not sure there.
Right.
You don't have depth at receiver. You don't have depth.
They lacked depth at receiver, and that was clear last year and the year before that.
So you don't have Hartline. Not that that's a big deal, but you have Jarvis Landry, who's good, who's a rookie this year.
Yep.
You have Rashard Matthews, who's average, who was a rookie this year. So now you have a team where your best receiver is going to be 5'11".
Yes.
He's doesn't know the system because he got traded from the Saints.
Correct.
And
he's working with a whole different quarterback.
And they're all the same type of receiver. They're all speed receiver, no possession receiver, all undersized. And you just signed a tight end that can't stay healthy. That's your offense. That's what you're working with on offense. So you're telling me the only thing you have to fall back on is hoping that Lamar Miller can put together the year he did last year. And if he does that, you still need the defense to come alive. Now you need the defense to come alive with thin linebacker. That linebacking core is thin when you get rid of Ellerbe. The fact that guy started every single game and was one of their best players, and I think he's average, just tells you already the depth that they had at linebacker.
The linebacking
retired.
Field is kind of thinning out.
Finnegan retired.
Yeah.
But he's a bum, but he was their number one corner. So that's my point.
Well,
so
I think Grimes is their number one corner, really.
So
talent-wise, at least.
So Grimes is up there in age. Finnegan retires.
They don't have Delmas anymore.
They don't have Louis Delmas, who was up there in age.
Yeah.
So you have absolutely no secondary.
Almost.
Your linebacking core is as thin as a sheet of paper.
Yes.
You're priding your defense on a defensive line of Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh, and then you're hoping to fall back on Lamar Miller. Now, I'm not trying to attack you, but I just had to lay down every single piece of that team. And I can't see how that team is going to win 10 games. I can't.
And it's interesting because they can't do anything else. That's why they're trading for everyone.
They can't do anything else because of Sue's contract. Right. That's why they're handcuffed.
$116 million is dumb money, but $60 million by itself cripples your franchise for at least 6 years while they pay him out. That's what I was saying.
Maybe that move is trying to put them to the next level.
I think it's a false.
Because that's why I said that. What I just explained to you was why that move doesn't do that.
Right.
Because there's way too many other question marks around that team to be able to have him come in.
And then why make the deal then?
Because
obviously you're always going to make the deal. You always want to make a deal to bring in someone better. But you can't just bring in one guy with the issues that you have and say, oh, we're better.
Well, it's kind of interesting because the hottest free agent of the year is like the number one draft pick that year as well. Everyone's going to want them, but you don't know exactly what that's going to do.
Bring in a number one draft pick and they do nothing the year after.
We're going to get to that in a bit.
So all that I'm saying is,
spoilers.
I just don't think that Miami is going to be that much of a different team just by bringing in Sue. I really don't think that makes a difference. Obviously, it makes the defensive line better. Correct. That defense has way too many holes in it. They have no offense whatsoever, and you're relying on Lamar Miller, who had a good year, to repeat. With Tannehill to have to throw, who has a ton of errant throws. If you watch that guy, he's so sporadic. And now he's going to have to throw to a small receiving core of just speed guys. I don't see how one guy makes them better.
A possession receiver in the draft.
Like every other team that needs one.
Every other team that needs one with how far down they are on the list. They're in the middle man of the pack, and there's like 6 teams before them that need a possession receiver like that.
All right.
I just don't think that bringing in one guy does them justice.
All right, so now we have the Redskins, who signed former Broncos defensive tackle Terrence Knighton to a 1-year, $4 million deal. also surprising, but not as surprising because the Fairley deal had already happened at this point.
That's a good move for them.
That's a cheap move for them.
That's a cheap good move for them.
And that's great for that defensive line.
Yeah, it is.
It gives Kerrigan more room to work with on the outside.
Right.
And then finally we have probably the biggest free agent move this week or last week rather, as Cowboys, or former Cowboys running back DeMarco Murray signed a 5-year, $42 million deal with $21 million guaranteed with the Eagles and reunites with Sam Bradford because they were together at Oklahoma, which I did not know this week.
They're roommates.
Yeah. You know what's funny?
I previously did not know this.
They're gonna wish they had LaShawn McCoy.
Think so?
Yep. Because
no, we were talking about this last week. Who would you rather have, Murray or McCoy?
And I said the offensive line, though. That's why, because Murray hadn't gone anywhere. The offensive line, that offensive line is stupid.
So do you think
running with a brick wall, anyone can do it. Right. We can do it.
Right. Like, so hold on, just
the Eagles' offensive line is
because they're trying to trade Evan Mathis, their best offensive lineman.
Right.
Hold on, I just to kind of clarify. So do you think DeMarco Murray is reasonably untested compared to most other backs in the league because of the offensive line?
Potentially, because when Fitz was in here, me and Fitz when we were all arguing about this, me and Fitz were on the same page. We said, look, the wear and tear on a running back is far superior than any other aspect of the game. You're taking all the hits. You're running full speed at someone who's running full speed at you.
Correct.
The fact that he barely got touched in Dallas because of how good his line is,
and he still got hurt at some point in the season.
Right, and he's going to start to be like, whoa, that's a big hit. Whoa, that's a big hit. He's not going to be able to get through all the holes that he was in Dallas, whereas LaShawn McCoy didn't have that offensive line.
And he still made it work.
And he's not going to have that offensive line in Buffalo either.
And Murray has that system.
I'm not sitting here saying that McCoy is better than Murray, but I'm letting you know that Murray is not going to have this cakewalk that he had in Dallas with that offensive line because it's not there in Philly.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, I just
don't
think
know
it's
how
an
you could
interesting
disagree
situation.
with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's an
I don't
interesting
think you can
situation
disagree with that statement.
It's an interesting situation to kind of deal with because you, again, want the hardest free agent that there is. And the whole thing that Chip Kelly was explaining was that, they got rid of McCoy as a money move to spread out depth of the team. Well, they didn't get Macklin back. He's gone. And then they bring in Murray for almost the exact same deal that McCoy had.
And to answer your question that you kind of half stated, no, they're not going to contend. Do you know why? Because their team. No, I'm not even sniffing defense. You know why they're not going to contend? Because now you put the offense on the shoulders of a guy who cannot stay healthy, who has not produced at all in the NFL, and you get rid of your best receiver. You get rid of Macklin, who went to the Chiefs, and now you're going to have Jordan Matthews be your stud, who is a good receiver. But he's a rookie last year. Right. So you're bringing in a quarterback who can't stay healthy.
You have a second-year receiver that's now your number one.
That's now your number one with no depth behind him.
Right.
You have a shaky offensive line at best, and they're trying to get rid of their best offensive lineman, as you just stated, in Mathis.
I want the Patriots to get him.
And now Murray's there, so obviously Murray's one of the best running backs in the NFL, but he's going to take hits, and he's not going to have the year that he had in Dallas. He's just not. 1,800 yards rushing, it's not happening. Right. It's definitely not happening. So it's still Dallas's division to the fact that Tony Romo can drop back. Tony Romo is the best quarterback in that division. He can drop back, and he has all day to throw behind that amazing offensive line.
Correct.
And no one's guarding Des Bryant.
That's why I think McFadden could even break 1,000 yards in the backfield behind that offensive line.
Wouldn't disagree with that one bit.
That's not even really that's a bit of a bold prediction.
So I want to hear what you have to say because I feel like you disagree.
No, I just think they're different. Obviously, they're different types of backs. And
they are. They're both really speed backs.
And that's why the move that I heard why they wanted to get rid of him is because McCoy's more east and west.
Whereas Murray's more north and south.
North and south.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why I think they made that move, and Chip Kelly likes north and south more than east and west. I don't.
But you can't really have a north and south guy if you can't block.
You can't block for him. There's no north and south.
That's the whole thing. Is like you want. All right, so having a north and south running back means that you want to start runs inside the offensive line and then break him either out or have him just run through everyone in the middle.
You think Philly's going to?
But I don't think he can.
I'm not saying they're not going to contend, but you think that Philly has a chance to win that division?
anyone has a chance to win that division.
Yeah.
But you said it, the way you said it was like you're confident in them.
What I was saying was, does it make them the favorite?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
I think we can agree with that.
Dallas. I mean, the Giants are always...
I'm going Dallas, Philadelphia, Washington, New York. Guess what? Guess who the starter is next year? September 12th, whatever.
RG3.
Right, and you know why that's good? Because he now has 7 months to prepare.
Yeah.
He now knows that. That was the smartest thing that Gruden could have done, and I said that. Tell the guy now. I don't care who your starter is. I don't care if your starter is Bill Cosby. Tell him now.
You still wanted him to be traded last year, but
you tell him now.
Yeah.
Now he has time to prep.
I mean,
they made their defense better. The Giants didn't do anything on defense. The Giants lost Stevie Brown. The Giants are re-signing guys that do nothing for them. They brought in Vereen. What moves are they making?
Nothing.
Odell Beckham's amazing catch is going to win games for them? No.
Yeah.
That division.
Cruz is going to come back for them.
That division is...
Yeah, it's almost as bad as the NFC South, in my opinion. All right.
Whoa, that's probably worse.
The NFC East?
Yeah.
That's a whole different conversation right there that we can get into.
Yeah,
but now we have, I think, one of the most interesting segments that we're ever going to have on NFL Korner.
My idea.
So we were.
I
had asked the guys what they wanted to talk about this week on the show.
And I was the first one to respond. An all-bum team.
So Chairman said we should talk about some of the worst players in the NFL. So when we call someone a bum, we're calling them really bad, essentially. So he said we should
waste of a draft pick or
that type of deal,
like that.
Right? So he said we should do an all-bum team, kind of like we did our Pro Bowl rosters a couple weeks ago. Yes. However, we cut it down to 10 guys, not necessarily just like a team,
right?
But
no
it's just some of the worst draft picks or worst players.
Order? I didn't do an order.
I didn't do an order,
I just have 10 awful players.
But I think we could probably agree on our number ones. But hold on. So because of this, and because of us filming this for YouTube as well, I want everyone to get involved with this. So if you're listening, if you're going to be watching this on YouTube, comment with your worst 10 players in the comments below as well. Or if you're listening to this live, tweet them at the NFL Korner 3. Lowercase the NFL corner with a K, 3 the number, no spaces, no hyphens, no underscores, no anything. But we're gonna go.
I'm excited, man.
We want everyone's opinion on this because this is gonna be such a great thing. But I think everyone can
get better than our group message Friday.
We can all agree on one player that's going to be in this.
I have him starred.
No, hold on. This is he is known for being the worst bust pick in NFL history, with a couple of other guys rather close to him, but for one spot, we're gonna get this one out of the way so we can just unload on this guy first. Chargers quarterback Ryan Leaf.
I told you I had him starred.
Yes.
He's my starting quarterback.
The problem is
14 touchdowns to 36 interceptions in his rookie year. That makes Geno Smith look good, and that's really hard to do.
But the fact of how much hype he got and what he became,
was supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks of his generation.
But at least he
was
like a
smart. Brady or a Manning.
He was smart. Ugh. I will give him this. He was smart, and he realized he has his passion and skill set is in something else. Stealing pain prescription pills and home theft robberies is more his forte.
The fact that the Chargers picked him over Peyton Manning, that's just
good year.
Yeah. Shout out to the Indianapolis.
Can you imagine the Chargers with Peyton Manning?
Kind of like goes back to when the Pistons were an all-star team and they had a choice at Wade, Bosch, or Melo and took Darko Milicic.
No one knows who that is, but shout out to the NBA for making it onto the NFL show again. So obviously we had Ryan Leaf on there. The second person I listed was Browns quarterback Tim Couch, and I know Tierman had him too.
Him.
Picked number 1 overall in 99. He had a 75.1 QBR through 5 seasons. And, that was. I
The problem
mean,
is there was too many awful quarterbacks to just for me to put him on there.
I mean, I have so many awful quarterbacks on here,
but that's
but
the problem.
it's
I would have
crazy.
a 10 list of quarterbacks, so I had to switch it up.
I did too.
Another guy who's not on my list that should be said is Sage Rosenfels.
Oh my god.
Did he go to Florida State? He did. I'm pretty sure he did.
He went to Florida State.
Awful.
I'm so sorry for everyone in the NFL. As a Florida State fan, we did not mean to give you Sage Rosenfeld.
He was terrible. But
Awful.
my number 2 is Jamarcus Russell.
Yep,
The man can throw a football 100 yards down the field,
I have
but he
him as-
loves
I have
lean.
him as well.
He loves NyQuil, codeine, all that good stuff.
He was out of shape going into his rookie year, which was
He
awful.
was a
but I
defensive tackle.
had him at my number 3 as
I
well.
have 3.
Picked
Well, I
one.
had 2. I didn't do 3.
Picked 1 overall in the 2007 draft. His career ended after 3 terrible seasons in Oakland.
And then he weighs 300 pounds, and then he tried to lose all
He's
that
living
stuff.
off of his rookie contract, probably, unless he blew
Good
it all.
business, man.
Yeah. Benelli, who's your number 3? Because we already listed 2 or 3 of ours.
My number 3 is a Cincinnati Bengal, Achilles Smith. I hate to do it, but Achilles Smith, 99.
Tierman was trying to guess him before the show, but couldn't name him. It was
Achilles Smith,
really
yeah.
interesting.
He was
Achilles
number
Smith.
11, though.
99.
Number 3.
Number 3 overall
No.
draft pick.
Jersey number.
Absolute
11.
bum.
Yes.
Absolute bum.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have him on the team, but I'm going to skip down a couple of my guys.
Hold on, I got one.
All right,
Albert Hainsworth. He is. Hey, the Pats could use him right now. A big fat guy take on double teams.
Man. You
Wanna
did
know what the
text us
worst-
this.
Wanna know what the worst part is?
Dude,
He was on New England.
He
He didn't
was.
even he couldn't even pass the physical test.
correct.
That's horrible.
But he was a big guy for Tennessee as well. Do you know any of his stats or anything?
Nope. I just put him on my list because he was supposed to be this great thing, and no. Just
He
He
never-
wasn't that big of a bust, though.
Yeah, I didn't
Other
put him on
than
the list
off
because
the field issues,
yeah,
and
his off the field issues and his attitude, and he constantly
he
wanting
really
more
wasn't
money.
That, yeah, he
Th-
really
that was-
wasn't that bad.
I mean, he wasn't
There's
a bad
definitely
player.
worse guys than
Yeah.
that.
But it's all right, tier man. But going back to my earlier one, I have a Bengals player, Kinjani Carter, who was picked number 1 in the '95 draft.
Oh, you were bringing it back.
Yeah, running back for
brought
them.
him back.
I had to start switching it up because I was getting into all quarterbacks at some point. So
Yeah,
he's
that's what I
running back
did.
for the Bengals. Tore his ACL in his rookie season. This dude just had the worst luck ever. He suffered season-ending injuries in '95, '98, and '99.
He has knees like the Kembe Mutombo.
Oh,
He's sand.
jeez. He he
You
played in.
got,
He
you got
played
someone
in.
on your list with the bad knees.
Hold on. He played in 35 of his games in 8 seasons in the NFL. He rushed for over 100 yards only once, and in his career he rushed for 1,144 yards and 20 touchdowns. That is a good season.
That's good.
For
That's
one season.
One season, yeah.
Oh, but he did that over 8 seasons. It was just terrible.
I see Tierman checking out my beautiful list.
Who's your list? Who do you have it? Who's your next
This
one?
is not in order, but
Yeah, because I just skipped down a lot. Of mine.
Jeremy Shockey.
Jeremy Shockey
Really?
with the New York Giants.
Where did he end up?
He was in New Orleans for a while.
Carolina was his last destination.
Yeah.
Jeremy Shockey.
No, it's a-
Here's proof. Jeremy Shockey's rookie card is worth $250.
He knows that because he, trades cards.
I don't know, trade in my collection. But Jeremy Shockey's rookie card now is worth 30 cents. It is a common card. Jeremy Shockey had one of the best years a tight end could have as a rookie out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
He then fell off, became an alcoholic, fell apart, got a tattoo on his arm of an American flag with an eagle on top, got really into watching war movies and eating, and really never stayed in shape with the NFL, and became absolutely one of the biggest busts ever. Now, what a bust is, and I want to clear this up, a bust is someone who is supposed to be phenomenal and ends up being nothing. So,
That's-
to
so
me,
when
Jeremy
we-
Shockey is in the top 5 of all time because Jeremy Shockey was supposed to be one of the best
Tight ends.
to ever play the game of football.
And so when we say a bum, it's someone who is supposed to be great but is awful, or someone who's supposed to do, great things for or an organization but does nothing for them.
You're crazy.
So for my number 4, or the 4th guy that I had on my list, because I didn't have shock you as well. I had Tim Tebow was the 4th overall guy that I had.
Adam 3rd.
Can't argue that.
25th overall pick in the first round of the 2010 draft. And while Tebow is regarded as one of the best college quarterbacks of all time by many people, he came out of University of Florida, go Gators or whatever. He failed to live up to his reputation in the NFL. In 3 seasons, he had a completion percentage of 47.9% and had 17 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. That's in 3 seasons in the NFL. That's, 2 with the Broncos and then 1 with the Jets before he was cut by the Patriots in 2013. Didn't even make their team out of preseason. Then he became an SEC analyst, and now he's working out for
ESPN
SEC Network analyst, and now he's trying to make a comeback. And he's a young guy, so he can still do it. He's not even
got to change his position.
He's not even 30 years old, but he's got to change his position.
I think
in one season, he almost rushed for more yards than he threw. I'm just saying this dude was awful for a quarterback. Like. He threw.
There was a game where he went like 3 of 30 for like 26 yards.
He threw ducks down the field
That's
consistently. So.
Manziel numbers. All right, Tier, you're chomping at the bit.
Brian Bosworth.
No, the boss is an icon. For all that he went through, you can't do that.
No.
He was supposed to be one of the
He was
best.
supposed to be one of the best. Went to Seattle.
Bo Jackson.
Tier man, this was supposed to be.
Bo Jackson ran him over.
Time out.
What?
This was supposed to be the top 10 biggest bums that you think, not that's online. You know you got that online.
He went on to like Fox Sports
Yeah,
or
sure,
like
I went
ESPN
there.
and looked up a
The
list
boss-
for worse. Not his own
He was
picks. It
supposed
was
to
just
be
someone else's
coming out of
picks.
Oklahoma, he was supposed to be the biggest, baddest dude, and then Bo Jackson, his rookie year, just ran
busted his knees. Yeah, obviously.
just ran over him. But then again, it is Bo Jackson. He's a freak. He's just
He's a
not,
freak athlete.
He's just
Oh.
not normal.
But the boss for how cool he was and how he was the man, I'm not going to say that he's that bad.
I'm saying
He stupid. He should be on a bus because of his stupid hair. I
Hey,
hate
that's
his
not
hair.
stupid. That's awesome.
I hate his hair. The worst part is he played in a part in the longest yard.
So?
What?
He took the pills that made him, like, soft.
But like the whole thing with Brian Bosworth is that he is a bust, not a top 10 though. Not a top 10 bust.
You don't think so?
No, but I do agree that he's a
He's
bust.
a bust. Yeah, he's definitely a bust.
We got to agree on that. He did not live up to his hype. But there's other guys.
All right, we're gonna shock you
So
again.
no, hold on.
It's Daddy's turn.
All right.
Take a deep breath. Now this guy
Collect yourself.
is
Here.
in the league now. Okay?
Okay.
If he stays on the track that he's on, he could be one of the biggest busts ever. Your boy, out of Oklahoma State, Justin Blackman.
Yeah.
The man has caught 4 passes in his whole career because the rest of it has been
Suspensions
and
injuries. Yeah.
in injuries. He's been in the league now for 4 years and has done absolutely nothing. Something's got to give, or he's going to be one of the all-time biggest bums. So he actually made my list.
And I'm going to equal you, but I'm going to do it twice. So I have, for the 5th choice I had, it was tied between 2 wide receivers, both selected by the Lions.
Current players?
No, past
Okay.
players. Charles Rogers, drafted number 2 in 2003, and Mike Williams out of USC.
Oh, go with Williams.
And-
Charles Rogers wasn't.
Who was drafted 10th in 2005. Now the reason why these two are bums is because combined these two caught 73 passes in a combined 5 seasons. Rogers broke his clavicle twice, violated the league's substance abuse policy 3 times. And then Williams only lasted 2 seasons before being traded to Oakland. So, I mean, you have guys that are just awful.
That's crazy.
All right, you guys are doing something over there. I kind of equated, Mike Williams and Charles
I
Rogers.
pray you know who this guy is.
All right, Tier, go.
We're not there yet.
I pray you know who this is, so you
Just
can
skip-
argue with me.
Skip down to it. Go.
Nope.
Tier man.
Because I got my boy from the Jets, selected 6th overall, Vernon Golston.
I agree with you on this one
Yeah,
because he was
that's bad.
my 6th overall.
He
Yeah,
didn't
he's
even
bad,
get
too.
a sack.
Yeah,
He broke Ohio State's single season sack record in 2007. He had 0 sacks in the NFL for 42 tackles. Yeah.
That's impressive. All right, you really want me to
Awful.
get to who I'm saying?
Yes.
No.
No.
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Then he goes.
Let
We're
Benelli
going in
go
order.
first.
All right, we're going in
Yeah.
order.
Okay. Maurice Claret. I don't even have to come out and say anything else.
Ohio State's one of the
Supposed
best
to be
running
the
backs
best
for
running
them.
back
Yeah.
ever and did nothing.
Nothing.
Absolute nothing.
Injuries,
Played in the CFL.
arrested, and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
bum.
it was awful.
CFL.
He tried to get into the
Yeah, he
supplemental draft too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, because I had Golston as well, at my 7th one, I had Buccaneers quarterback, going to be 21 season legend,
Ooh.
Vinny Testaverde. Get on my level. All right. So this guy was drafted number 1 in 1987. Testaverde threw 112 interceptions in 6 seasons with Tampa, 35 in 1 season. Now, that's in 1988. He had 35 interceptions to only 13 touchdowns. Again, these are guys that are making like bums nowadays look good. But Testaverde went on to have a pretty good career. In his 21 season career, he threw 267 interceptions to 275 touchdowns. That's terrible.
I can't wait till you say this.
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
All right. So, Tier Man, who's your next pick?
Percy Harvin.
Oh, I agree so bad.
He had
that
one.
was a waste.
He had one good game in the Super Bowl when everyone was up
With
in,
Seattle, yeah.
and everyone was up. Oh, he should get MVP.
He got that huge contract from them after that, or was that before that?
It was before that because then they let him go.
Yeah, that's true.
They let him go. So everyone was like, "Oh, Super Bowl MVP," when that was the only game he played in.
Yeah, no, he played in the championship game before that. He played in 2 games that season.
Two
The championship and then the Super Bowl, and had game-winning plays for them in both.
Right.
That was
then-
his whole claim to fame.
And then let's go to
Another Florida
They hated
product.
They hated it.
Go Knowles.
Seattle could have kept Golden Tate. Wait, was it Golden Tate? They picked
Yeah.
Him or Harvin, and they went with Harvin. Golden Tate's in Detroit now, killing it. Harvin got traded to the Jets,
For a 6th-round pick.
6th-round pick.
And then they didn't re-sign him, and then the Bills signed him.
Now he's with the Bills, who don't have a quarterback, so he's a bum.
Yeah. All right, Benelli,
Okay.
who's your next pick?
My next pick is Trent Richardson. For what he
Great
was
pick.
supposed
Great
to be. For
pick.
what he was supposed to be at Alabama when he was a machine and would run people over, and he was supposed to be the next best thing. He has now been in the league. He has now been on 3 different teams.
He didn't do too awful in the Browns. It was when he got traded to the Colts for a first-round pick.
His first year in Cleveland was pretty good.
I think
His
he
second
rushed
year
over
was
for 1,000.
awful, and then he went to the Colts, and his career's gone now.
Correct.
His career's dead.
He just got signed to.
Let's see what he does in Oakland, but I still think Latavius Murray's their starter.
He just got signed to Oakland on a 2-year deal, I believe.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a good pick too.
That Alabama team, though, that line.
That was crazy. That was like a DeMarco Murray situation.
So
Yeah.
So
wonder
he had a professional line.
I wonder if teams take that into consideration.
I don't think they do.
Drafting.
I don't think they
No.
do. I think they look at talent of the player
Yeah,
more
they
than
should,
team
but-
around him.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though,
That
Tierman.
is a good point. But
Best thing Tierman says on this show was just that. That was good.
Because
But he's about to make up for it.
Because if you're
Don't worry about that.
if you're no, but seriously, if you look at because obviously Alabama's a powerhouse, all those SEC teams
Right.
are, and they always get drafted. They get drafted high,
Yeah.
and then they don't become anything. And I don't. It's a common trend that we are seeing. It's not, especially offensively.
Yeah.
And is it just because the teams who have 1 through 5, or we'll go 1 through 10, just pick them because
Of the school definitely commands a draft position.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, because you could be, the 3rd receiver on Missouri or Alabama or Auburn
and you'll
or
be a
Florida,
4th round pick.
and you'll be like a 3rd or 4th round pick, and
Even better,
Nah,
yeah.
Kevin Owens
you could
was
be a
second,
you could be a
and he was AJ's favorite target.
you could be a 2nd round pick at that point.
Where's he? Seattle, right?
He's
Yeah.
with Seattle.
He's gonna be all right.
He's gonna be
fine.
Yeah,
He'll be
like
fine.
it's just the school does command a name, and that's
Oh,
but
without
yeah.
a doubt, it holds so much
Yeah.
weight.
all right. My next one was is considered the 3rd biggest bust of all time, behind Jamarcus Russell and Ryan Leaf. He's not a quarterback, surprisingly enough.
Is he a wide receiver?
No.
Tight end.
No.
Defensive line.
You're not going to guess this.
Linebacker.
Uh-oh.
Packers offensive guard, Tony Mandarich.
Oh, I saw that when I looked for this online.
Yeah, I did.
He was drafted second in the 1989 draft. And for people who know the 1989 NFL draft, 4 of the first 5 picks, NFL, Pro Football, Hall of Famers.
Safe.
Just gonna name them for you. Troy Aikman,
You suck.
Barry Sanders, Derek Thomas, and Deion Sanders. What a class to be around. And you are the worst of them. I mean, you could be average and still be all right in that class.
Picked,
like,
yeah.
that is ridiculous. And he was supposed to be, quote unquote, the best offensive line prospect ever up until that point. After 4 seasons with the Packers, he had only started 15 games, and that was all between 2 seasons. He was released by them, and then he was picked up by Indy, played 2 seasons there, and then was done from the league. Considered one of the biggest busts of all time.
It looks like you got some breaking news. Your boy,
1 second.
Jermaine Gresham, is meeting with the doctor tomorrow for a back injury. Could have surgery Thursday and should be ready for camp.
Good.
Does that mean he's saying it with Bengals, though?
I have no idea. This
Let's
is
hope,
by
let's
Rappaport or whatever his name is.
Ian
Let's hope.
Rappaport, yes.
Let's hope. Now
Rap sheet.
before Tierman gets to his next pick.
Do you think the Raiders could still sign Gresham, though? I
yeah.
still think that
Yeah,
they can take
sadly.
him if they do.
Now before Tierman gets to his next pick, I have to ask.
Tissue Cam will be live in the next following weeks, depending on where Gresham goes, because Benelli may cry.
Very
Bucket
true.
list.
Yeah, I'd be upset. I
Okay.
love him more than I love everyone. Now hold on.
Although I would my life would be kind of complete at that point.
Before you say this next one,
Okay.
I need to know, because you and I both know you got this from some website. I need to know what website put him on there. Because that is absolute.
Fox Sports.
You need to find me the article. You need to find me the guy who wrote it. Because I am going to tell you right now his stats before you even say his name.
In Arizona.
And I loved him. And he had Jake the Snake thrown at him, who's a bum.
Arizona,
Jake
right?
Korner was a bum. Yes. He played in. This is his whole career. Hold on. He played only 5 NFL seasons, 4 of which he was healthy, 1 of which he barely played. He recorded 315 receptions, which is nothing to write home about. But he did have 4,799 yards.
315 receptions?
With 25 touchdowns. Who put this man as a bum? And now I will say this to you. Before I even had anything to look at, you showed me, and on your list is just his name. And it clicked in my head because I used to like him because he was good. And this was back when I was 12 years old, 10 years old. And I said, oh, the wide receiver from Arizona, because I know about him. He is by far not a bum. He is actually a good receiver and was a good receiver. Now I need to know who wrote that article.
All right, I'll pull it up.
You need to find it. David Boston. I pray you know who that man is.
Yes.
He was not a bum. The fact that he put up 4,799 yards with only 315 catches for 25 touchdowns, how is he a bum?
They put him on there because
I
he
remember
went
him.
to the Chargers.
Every player in their NFL career goes to one team and falls apart.
But it was after a big deal.
That makes me mad that someone put that. I'm fuming in here.
Well,
Well, it is hot.
there was an article. Oh my gosh, yeah. But there was an article that listed some of the worst draft picks of all time, and like one of them was like Phillip Rivers by the Giants because then they traded Eli Manning for him. That type of deal. It was stupid. But like I remember David Boston because he had the last name of Boston, and we live just outside of Boston. If you didn't know that, and so I played. I did. Some of us live in Nowheresville, out in western state of Massachusetts. Yeah, my God. But I remember David Boston because I played with him on Madden. For specifically,
he was good. Honestly, I really want to know where you found that article. That actually upsets me, and I will, if there is an email, I will email the man who wrote that article and say, what makes you... That's one of those stories like David Boston stole his girl or something. You do not write him as a bum. But Daddy's turn. Sticking with quarterbacks, David Carr. He's dancing with stars now, and his brother has already put together a better career in one season than he has in his whole life.
I almost put him on this list. Guys that almost made my list: Derek Carr, Matt Leinart.
No, not Derek Carr. David Carr.
Oh, David Carr. Excuse me.
Funny thing, Matt Leinart has had a better career than David Carr.
That's true.
Number one pick for the Giants.
Yeah, he was Carr was the number 1 pick for the franchise expansion at the time.
At the
Houston
time,
Texans.
That's right.
He was their number 1 pick.
That's right.
Bomb. Oh. All right, so after Mandarich, I had my last one rather, because I've already named almost all 10 of mine at this point, is another franchise expansion first overall pick for the Carolina Panthers. Quarterback Kerry Collins.
Ooh.
Oh, who kills it with the list? That's right.
That's pretty good.
Picked 5th overall, and then hold on.
He was
Listen. He was picked 5th overall in the 95 draft. After going to the NFC Championship game that year, this is what happened to him. Collins had a terrible stretch after that. He had 54 interceptions to 47 touchdowns in his few years with the Panthers after that. He benched himself in 1998 and quit on the team. He was released after that. That's 3 seasons. Your number 1 pick for a franchise. So how you start a franchise, your pick, your quarterback, your foundation, 3 seasons, one of which he benched himself for, one of which he led you to a championship, and the others he just kind of fell apart for in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yep.
Do you have any more picks, Benelli?
I have 2 more.
Are you done? Are you done too?
No, you should still have more.
No. Well, I put Terrence Newman because you said he couldn't guard a chair, and then made me laugh, so I figured...
Yeah, he can't guard a chair. He can't guard a chair. That's why that's why I'm happy he's gone off
but
my
I was
team.
just thinking, we mentioned him earlier in the show, Matt Schwab.
I thought about it, but...
Yeah, okay, I can see it.
Because-
He had a couple good years in Houston, though.
Now, let me sweep you both off your feet when I give you the 2 last. Number 1...
I'm ready to be swept off my feet.
Okay, this one's great.
I'm excited.
How many people have a kicker on their list?
I didn't have a kicker on my
Daddy
list.
does. Want to know why?
Was it the Jets kicker?
No.
Oh.
Tampa Bay. Come on, man.
No, Arizona. You're thinking of his twin brother.
Whatever.
Oh, okay.
Bill Grammatica, who
That's
kicked a 20-yard field goal and celebrated and tore his ACL in 5 different spots.
Yes, your boy.
He ran, jumped, kind of like Lamar Houston did this year against the Pats. He ran,
Except
jumped,
he had his hands up in the air, came down, and his knee
and the next thing you
blew
know, his knee was gone. And it's understandable with Lamar Houston because Lamar Houston has about 280 pounds on Grammatica. Bill Grammatica is about 5'3", 10 pounds. He ran, jumped, and fell on his knee and literally was screaming in agony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Scratch that. Who was the guy? He played for Washington. I remember he scored a touchdown, ran to the wall, and headbutted it and got a concussion. Who was that?
Oh, it was their quarterback. Wasn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. I remember.
Who was it?
Look it up. Look it up. So that's Bill Grammatica. That's number 9 for me. Absolute bum. And number 10, I wish Fitz was here because he will agree. It's a fact. It's true. I'm excited to say this. My last and final all-bum team selection goes to none other than our buddy and our host Nick's dear friend, Logan Ryan. Absolute bum. We talked an entire show about how much of a bum he is.
We talked for like at least
Nick
20 minutes.
But I think he's absolutely awful.
I don't like him. I just defended him. I got into that position.
He's another corner that cannot guard a chair. Now, I'm not even talking about a chair on wheels. I'm talking about a chair that's glued to the ground.
I got into a position where I had to defend Logan Ryan.
Hey,
being
that's great.
Cornerback. I
because you're a Pats
guns.
fan. I'm a Bengals fan.
I dove on that
you want to
sword
talk crap
hard.
about Terrence Newman? Fine. I'll join in on the fun.
I dove
awful.
on that sword. I had to. I wasn't going to go back on it. But the guy you were talking about, Tierman, Gus Fresh.
Yes, Gus Fresh. Yes, dude. He also, yes.
He injured himself by running into a wall after celebrating a touchdown. Kind of ruined his career after that.
Next week with the top 10 best, most.
No, that's so fun.
How's that not fun?
No,
the
that
best injuries ever that are like.
Oh
stupid?
gosh. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we could do Stephen Tulloch and Lamar Houston as one.
Yeah, that's true. The dancing, and then next thing you know, you're.
Oh
done.
yeah.
What was that guy? Was it David Nelson?
for...
Might have been David Nelson, that wide receiver was on Buffalo. He
Yeah.
proposed to his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And he was, like, wicked excited. And then, like, he caught a pass afterwards, like, right after. And he, like, looked at her, and he, like, just got popped. He, like, turned and looked at her and just got drilled, and he didn't move the rest of the game. Just a bunch of stuff. Just, like
Drew
questionable
Bledsoe's
things.
entry against the Jets. That was
that
nuts.
was bad, too.
That was... I remember watching that game.
But
That's how much that stuck to my mind. Like, that was crazy.
Obviously, we're not laughing at injuries, but, I mean, you got to think to yourself. Like,
What
let
are
me
you
take
doing?
Lamar Houston, for example. You're losing to the Patriots. Garoppolo's in burning you.
Yeah, I was gonna
who's
say-
the backup for New England.
Yeah.
You're losing 48-10. You get a sack, and
You decide to
you
celebrate
decide
it.
to
One.
celebrate.
Two, you celebrate it by doing it.
That's karma.
Yeah.
Going down like that, that's karma. So, I mean, hey, that was a good section.
We could do best, like, of all time. I guess we could start to do that
We
as
can
well.
do
That's-
that right now.
That's two. No, we have 10 minutes left. That's
Yeah.
the problem with that argument is it would
It's
have to
too
be a
similar
position.
at that
It would
too,
have to
yeah.
be a position
Mhm.
because there's
Top
too many
10
good players.
Top 10 kickers of all time. Next week's show.
Top 10. Realistically, though, you know what would be good would be, and now this
See, I started something good.
this would be something.
Team.
This is something that I want.
I mean, our
This is something
episode
that-
where we did the Pro Bowl rosters was
That was
phenomenal.
fun too.
That was great.
This is something that I want to say. I want to do something next week to where Tier Man cannot use the internet. So this is what I'm gonna do. I want
Ew.
the top 3 best games you've watched in your entire life in the NFL. The 3 best games all time. I'm not gonna say 10 because top 3 games you've ever watched in the NFL. It could be a preseason game. It could be regular season.
Okay.
It could be
I got
playoff
one.
Super Bowl. Well, don't reveal it. Save it for next week. Next week, I want to do top 3 best games of all time in your book.
Okay.
All right, and
I got a book right here.
Good. Fill it up.
yeah, go back and watch tape.
No internet.
Yeah, I mean,
Find me that guy who wrote that article.
definitely an interesting day. Thank you guys for listening.
What do you mean? We
and
got
also-
7 minutes.
Hold on, I was just thanking them for listening. Jeez, you didn't even let me finish here. Yeah. So actually, let us know if you have any suggestions for what we should do for a second,
Or if you have
second,
any different
second topic, or any topics that you want, because we're gonna try and make the second topics that we try and cover
So it looks
something similar to this, because these are really fun to get into. But yeah, leave a comment, tweet at us, do something, let us know. Just because these are a lot of fun. I mean, like there was just so many people that you could pick for worst
Geno
boss
Smith.
of all time. Geno Smith being one. I saw a report that was listing Alex Smith as one as well, and I was pretty agreeing with that too. As a bust, not one of the all-time busts, but for what he was worth,
I like
he was.
I think he's all right.
Yeah, he's good.
He's not
Other than the fact that
he's
one receiver on his team
Yeah,
catches
give
a
him
touchdown
some
pass.
weapons.
right, but like
he had weapons.
He can't.
but
In-
He
in
can't be
San
like
Fran,
Brady.
he had weapons.
He can't be like Brady and just make no names into freaking.
no one can do that
Yeah.
except for Rodgers.
yeah,
Brady.
Breeze. Yeah.
Manning, Breeze.
So
Yeah.
I just looked. A few teams interested in a tight end. The Bills, the Browns.
Where are you going with this?
For your boy, Graham.
That doesn't mean they're interested. They're not
And the
interested in
Raiders.
him. They're interested in the tight
Tight
end.
end. But it seems as
Charles
if,
Clay's still out there too, even
but
though he
he-
is signed an option sheet
Gresham
with
is the best tight end
Buffalo.
out there still.
Problem is, do you know who the Bengals offensive coordinator is?
Is it Marvin? Is
No,
he?
he's a head coach.
Yeah, I know that,
but
but is he-
sometimes offense.
Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
I have no idea.
He was in the era of getting fired by the Oakland Raiders after going 2-97 in that little 10-year stretch that they just fired everybody. Hugh Jackson.
Wow.
He was the head coach. The big huge black guy. He was the head coach when Jamarcus Russell was their quarterback. And he's their offensive coordinator. And he released a statement about a month ago that he has all the faith in the world in Andy Dalton and that he thinks Andy Dalton's the greatest guy ever. So with that being said, that tells you where his head's at and where it
He
needs
also
to.
thought that Jamarcus Russell was good enough to get drafted 1 overall.
Right. So what that tells me is
Questionable.
his head doesn't know where it's at, because if it did, he would be making a push to re-sign arguably one of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. But they have yet to do so, which I'm on edge about all the time.
Yeah. So
Stop tickling me.
before we close out the show, again, leave us a comment or tweet at us. Just kind of like topics we could talk about, like best tight ends, best division, worst division. that kind of thing, so we can talk about it, on air. If you can't see, Benelli's rubbing his stomach for us.
It's about 1,000 degrees in here.
Yeah, I know. Seriously, I'm sweating sitting in my chair. All right. Anything else to add this week, guys?
Preview for next week. Best NFL game this year. Take away Pat's regular
Super
season.
Bowl game taken away.
That and the Packers.
Oh, I'm not saying it
Come on.
because I'm not saying it biased, but Monday Night Football, last Monday night game of the year, Bengals down against the Broncos in the rain, and that comeback win.
That was a
with
good
Pac-Man
game.
interception stealing.
I thought it was Dre.
It was Dre and both had interceptions at the end of the game.
Dre Day, baby.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Else.
That's what I'm going. I'm going Bengals, and I'm going Broncos. Monday night.
I got a game. Don't worry.
You got it? You wrote it down?
I got one game. I have a couple of other games.
Well, you got to
don't worry.
reveal
This
one
year-
right now
this
this
year.
year.
Oh,
This year.
from this year?
Yeah, this
Take
year.
away Packers because we can all agree.
We can all agree that was a hell of a game.
My game, but the game I just thought of was from 2 years ago. It's from 2013. It
Yeah.
was Pats Broncos. Because
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. no, not the
The
championship game, the
regular
regular
one,
season
the
game.
regular
When they were down
And
24.
yeah, that was a huge comeback. That was the biggest comeback from
Well-
the regular season.
This year, what was the best game? He's saying this year.
There's a couple really good games.
Oakland
I got
and
one.
the Texans.
I got one. Rams Broncos.
That was a great game.
That was a
Also,
fantastic
was another
game.
good game. St. Louis and Seattle. In Seattle.
Yeah, it was.
St. Louis.
That was a good
Yeah, it
game
was.
too.
Fake kick to win the game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was
was.
the
That
fake
was
punt.
another
Fake
good game.
punt.
Another
Oh.
good game. Hopefully your dad's listening. Jacksonville and New York, when the Jaguars beat the Giants 22-20.
Exactly. They had what, like 14. That came down to the wire.
That
Didn't
game
it?
came
Yeah.
right down to the wire. That was another good
That's
game.
when Eli threw 5 picks, right? And so
No,
so
that was the
That was the
Niners
following
game.
week.
That was the
following
Niners
week.
game when it was 16-10.
Yeah.
He threw 5 picks and they had a chance to go on the field and win the game 17-16.
Yeah.
The fact
Yeah,
that
he
you
knows
throw
all.
five interceptions and you still can win a game.
That
That says a lot about the other team.
I was gonna say a lot about the other team, not about your team itself, because you don't show resiliency after that.
Yeah.
If the other team's doing nothing. All right, so I think we're just about out of time. I mean, this is a miracle. We're kind of ending on a bit early, whereas we
got
usually
2
stay
minutes.
over. Thank you guys for listening. If you're listening to Newbury College Radio, or for watching, if you're watching this on YouTube, as we'll be putting this up later, be sure to follow us on Twitter at the NFL Korner 3. Like I said earlier, corner with a K, and the number 3. No spaces, no underlines, no anything, and to stay up to date on NFL news and to see what we think of NFL stories and issues in 140 characters or less. Also, feel free to ask us any NFL-related questions or leave comments or topics for us on our Twitter or comments in the YouTube video down below. Thanks again for listening and or watching. You are listening to the NFL Korner on Newbury College Radio, the sound of Nighthawk Nation. Peace, guys.
Make moves.